This is FYI News 13, brought to you by SSPTV and the Hazleton Standard Speaker.
For your information, we talk with a local guidance counselor about bullying. Welcome to the premiere of FYI Weekend. I'm Ken Cara, and we begin with a look at stories making headlines this weekend. Lisa Sugart is joined by managing editor of the Hazleton Standard Speaker, Mark Hatcher.
Making the headlines this weekend, a controversy involving a Hazleton area school district coach. Mark Hatcher is here to tell us the details. Mark?
Sure. We understand there's an investigation underway into the alleged actions of the girls' softball coach, the Hazleton area high school. From what we know at this point, the school district and possibly the PIAA are investigating what may have transpired at a game earlier this month. The details are kind of sketchy at this point. We know that the coach has been removed from the team. He did not coach the game on Friday. So going forward, we'll keep an eye on this, and we'll have more in an upcoming edition and also online.
All right, so stay tuned for that. Now, looking back at this past week, some big stories in the Hazleton Standard Speaker, as well as here on FYI. So what were the ones that you feel were most read by your subscribers?
Sure. It's nice online that we're able to track the most read stories. Actually, readers who go out to our website can see that list for themselves to see what stories are trending, and I think that's nice. It's a nice feature. So what we saw this past week was that there was the story about the zoning hearing board at West Hazleton, their decision on the proposed shooting range. They decided that they could not rule on the case because they ruled that the shooting range is in Hazel Township. So we'll see where that goes from here. I know there's still some opposition to that. Keep in mind, Hazel Township did grant the approval for that proposal several months ago. So that's where it stands now. So that was one story that got a lot of attention. Another was some ATV issues in Foster Township. Foster Township announced that they're going to hold a meeting very soon to discuss these issues, explain the ordinance and the rules to not only the ATV riders but to the public. There are two camps: people who think that they should be able to ride their ATVs, enjoy them, and there are others who feel that it's a nuisance with noise and dust and the like. So there's a debate going on there, specifically in Foster Township, and that attracted a lot of attention, as did a letter to the editor that we had on the subject. So those were the two big stories that we saw that got the most attention on the week.
Now we're going to look ahead to the future, an upcoming story in the Hazleton Standard Speaker. Tell us about this feature. Sure.
We're going to be writing a story about the Altamont building in downtown Hazleton. It's one of four of the tallest buildings downtown. The three others are spoken for, so to speak, with the D'Angelo and Hayden partnership, and those would be the former Traders Bank building, the Hayden Tower at the Markle, and the former HNB bank building. But then there's the fourth, the Altamont, that's under different ownership. It's actually still owned by Sean McDougall of Minsec, which of course was the company that ran the halfway house that was there at the Altamont for several years. And of course that was very controversial at the time, and Minsec transferred the halfway house to CEC, which was a different company, and then CEC moved its location. So the question is, what becomes of the Altamont now? It's a major, very visible property in downtown, and our story will look at not only the past and what has happened with the Altamont, with the halfway house and some other things that were there, but also the future. We ask what people would want to see there if that became available. So people can look for that in an upcoming edition very soon.
All righty. Thanks for being with us here today on FYI Weekend, and we'll see Mark back here on Tuesday.
Now we have important information for anyone who believes they may be the target of bullying. Here's Lisa Sugart once again.
On FYI, we have introduced you to Jen Fox and her daughter Cameron, who dealt firsthand with bullying and are now taking a proactive approach by creating a group, a support group, to help others dealing with the same problem. Well, Dawn LaRoque-Scherer is a certified kindergarten through 12th grade guidance counselor, and she joins me now. Thank you for being here, Dawn.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
Unfortunately, bullying doesn't know a certain age. It happens at children on all levels. You deal with K through 12, and you've seen it K through 12?
Yes, I've seen it from kindergarten straight up through 12th grade. And it varies in magnitude as to what is happening to the kids.
Now, in a situation like what Jen and Cameron dealt with, when there's a situation and there is bullying, what should have happened there? Because now she is, getting legal advice on what to do with all of this. What should happen when you report a bullying incident?
First of all, I'd like to say it should have never went this far. In a district that has a zero tolerance policy for bullying, it is reported. A teacher, any adult that a student would go to can report bullying to any adult. That adult then should address it with the guidance counselor and the principal. At that point, the student would be called down to the office to tell them what is going on. At that point, the student's parent would be contacted to let the parent know what is going on at the school. Then after that student leaves the office, the kids that are being accused of the bullying should be called down. Their parents should be contacted as well, and a meeting should be set up immediately, and disciplinary action should be followed through with the bullies because it is a zero tolerance policy.
How often are we seeing things like this? Because we keep seeing it in the headlines every day. And so this is becoming a growing problem. So districts need to have their eyes and ears open at all time.
Absolutely. This growing problem, first of all, for schools, they need to have training for their educators, for their faculty, for their staff, for anyone to recognize what's going on in their building. Even cafeteria workers, anybody that has contact with students should know signs and what to look for. If a student is crying, an adult should approach that student and say, what's going on? It just needs to be more out there that measures are taken to ensure the safety of our kids at school.
Now, Jen and Cameron have started support groups, groups to help others who are dealing with this. What did you think when you heard about that?
I was amazed. Someone that in that situation, it takes a lot of courage to go out and talk about your story. A lot of kids of bullying feel very alone, and they feel like nobody else is going through it, and they tend to isolate themselves and shut down. In this case, with them, the courage to go out and do this and to help other kids, I praise them. I think they're wonderful. To turn something negative into something positive is what you always want to see an outcome happen.
And finally today, Dawn, for someone out there who is watching right now, they're having a problem, what advice do you have for them?
As a child, please tell an adult, tell a teacher, tell a cafeteria worker, any adult that you can get to. Students that are witnessing this, that are bystanders, if you see bullying, please go tell an adult. Remember, it's always your child's safety first, but if they see it, go get an adult. They don't have to interject. Go tell an adult. Parents, you keep fighting for your kids. Your kids need to be safe at school just like they are at home. So all I can say is from here out, parents fight for your kids, and kids do the right thing.
Very good advice. Thank you for being here today.
Thank you for having me.
Reporting for FYI, I'm Lisa Sugart.
This weekend, we have information from the mayor's desks in Hazleton and Shenandoah. First in Hazleton, here is the latest street sweeping schedule for city residents. Remember, this is weather permitting, and if you have any questions, you can call the phone number on your screen. Now turning to the borough of Shenandoah, the garbage collection schedule in Shenandoah will change effective this Thursday. Please be aware of the new schedule so that your garbage will be picked up at the designated time. I'll tell you what's coming up on FYI weekend in just a moment, but first, let me take a selfie. Now, unfortunately, with my selfie, I can't win these great prizes, but you can. We are giving away Sand Springs. It's a full golf pass there and $20 cash if you post a selfie on our Facebook wall. Now, you have to include the FYI logo somewhere in your selfie. So that's a round of golf at Sand Springs and $20. And all you have to do is post a selfie with the FYI logo in it somewhere on our Facebook wall, and you will be entered into our random drawing. Now, after this little break, Janine will tell you all about her new segment for FYI Weekend, and later we'll meet back up with Stacy Mears, a runner from Drums who now has 2 medals from the Boston Marathon.
This is FYI News 13, brought to you by SSPTV and the Hazleton Standard Speaker.
Listen up, it's the newest segment here on FYI, and it is premiering right here on the weekends. We're very excited to invite all you performers, musicians, and bands to contact us. We want to highlight you and the events that you have going on throughout the weekend. Now, there is a big event coming up this summer. It's called Hazleton Rocks Music Fest, and it's going to be held at the Hazel Township Community Park. Now, the organizer, Vilma Budd, is inviting sponsors to contact her or businesses who want to sell food at this event. They're going to have bands performing. If you are a band out there that wants to perform at this event, it's going to happen August 9th. It's a Saturday. It's going to happen at the Hazel Township Community Park. All types of music, I'm told anyway, that they are going to be having perform. If you want any information on participating in the event, selling food at the event, or if you want to do a sponsorship, you could call Vilma direct at 570-579-3146. Also, her email is up on your screen. This event is going to be held again Saturday, August 9th. It's a first annual. I think it's a great idea. It's going to welcome all kinds of music into the greater Hazleton area. It's going to happen 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. It is rain or shine. And again, every Saturday and Sunday here on FYI Weekend. Listen Up is the newest segment. If you want to be involved, any musician out there, bands, singers, performers, please contact me on my Facebook, Janine SSPTV, or at my email address, janine@ssptv.com. We're happy to be doing all these new segments here through our very new format on FYI, and we'll go back to Kenny in the studio.
Thanks, Janine. Maybe I'll launch my solo rap career on Listen Up, so stay tuned. Recently, we aired part 1 of our interview with Matt Birkbeck, the author of The Quiet Dawn, the untold story of Mafia kingpin Russell Buffalino. In part 2 of our interview, Birkbeck talks about the role the Mafia played in our area's history and how it still affects it today. How important is it to this area's history to, I mean, even when you pick up your book, read your book, but also you said now there's some of this stuff still going on here in Pennsylvania. Is it turning a blind eye to it, or people just aren't aware of it? It doesn't get covered?
I think it's a combination of things. Number one, it doesn't get covered. This book that I wrote, a lot of this information has been out there for a while. I was fortunate enough to develop sources when I was covering as a reporter the casino licensing process here in Pennsylvania. Specifically, I covered the licensing of Mount Airy in the Poconos, as well as the ones down in the Lehigh Valley. So over a course of 2 or 3 years, I did a number of investigative reports outlining just how corrupt this process was and how these gaming licenses were issued. The one from Mount Airy was particularly egregious in that the fellow who got the license, Louis de Naples, had the backing of 2 state legislators, both senators, the state legislature itself, Governor Ed Rendell, and also the state Supreme Court, which to me was mind-boggling. I mean, that was in itself remarkable. So to me, that was an outgrowth of the legacy of Buffalino, because during his time, he controlled local law enforcement, he controlled the local political scene. I think he had been arrested maybe once or twice, and nothing too serious during his 50-odd years while he was here. And that was due in part to the overwhelming control that he had on different facets of the community, including law enforcement and including politics.
Last question I want to ask you, Matt. When you look at the Mafia in this country, in this area, what fascinates you the most about it? Maybe even in people's reaction to your book. I mean, sometimes it gets glorified. You look at people, I remember I had a Godfather poster hanging up in my room when I was in college, one of my favorite movies. What fascinated you the most, maybe when you were doing it, or in people's reaction to the book itself and to organized crime in America?
I think there are a couple of things. Number one, everyone has a Buffalino story. At least they do now that the book came out. So wherever I go, before, it was very hard to get them. I mean, individual stories. There was another part of Buffalino where he would do some incredibly nice things. You know, he'd help, there's a passage in the book where he helped a neighbor. We sent a couple of guys over to help a neighbor who was fixing a roof, an elderly neighbor. They told him to get off the roof. Mr. Buffalino wants us to help you. But I don't think that folks here really knew just how powerful a group organized crime is, or at least was and continues to be in this region, and that they continue to control facets of industry, politics, and even media. And I think that is what's eye-opening, and I think that's one of the lures of the book. I think it's kind of like, you know, pulling a blanket over and people seeing for the first time just how it actually affects the region and actually affects them.
Birkbeck's book is available at all major bookstores and Amazon.com. Here's FYI's weekend community calendar. There will be a Valley Interfaith Council. They will actually have a Wounded Warrior fundraiser on May 6th at 7 p.m. That'll be at Cunningham United Methodist Church on Main Street in Cunningham. There will be 3 speakers: First Sergeant Anthony Middleton, Staff Sergeant Eric Olson, Specialist Dane Watro. There will be no charge, but they will accept free will offers that will benefit the Wounded Warriors Foundation. And at the Hazleton Area Public Library, they are going to celebrate their 2nd annual Community Reads event on Wednesday, May 14th. And that's at 6 p.m. in the community room. This year's theme is Corresponding Lives. Local people from all walks of life will be reading letters sent during wartime, and the event will cover the Revolutionary War, Civil War, World War I, World War II, the Korean War, and Vietnam. Now, for a complete list of community events, you can go to our website or Facebook page.
This is FYI News 13 Sports.
Stacey Mears from Drums was one of the 5,700 people who did not get to finish the Boston Marathon in 2013 because of the terrorist attack. She shipped back up to Boston this year for her chance to cross the finish line. She shared some of her pictures with us from her time in Boston this year. On Saturday night before Marathon Monday in Boston, Stacey Mears met up for dinner with some of the other runners who didn't get to finish the race in 2013.
And we just all were basically talking pretty much about how the fact we're finally meeting each other and the fact that we finally are actually all coming back to do what we started over a year ago.
Now you guys seem like friends forever. I mean, it doesn't seem like talk about how close you became to this group and so fast. Was it just the personalities or what? The fact that you all went through this? I mean, talk about bonding with them.
I think it's the fact that we all pretty much went through it, but also the fact we all noticed we're all very similar and very outgoing and very goal-oriented. So I think that was a huge factor.
This photo was taken at 5:15 a.m. on the day of the marathon. This is the Run for Research team that Mears was a part of. They raise money for the American Liver Foundation.
This is actually the oldest organization that actually ran with the Boston Marathon. This year there was 224 members and raised over $7.1 million.
Here's a picture of Mears with some new friends at the Athletes Village.
And then I saw these cops on bike. They're on bike. You can't really see it from this picture, but they're there. And, you know, and I'm asking them, like, so why are there so many cops? They're like, we're making sure you all are safe. And I said, you know what? I said, I just want to thank you for the job you're doing. And then I said, would it be, you know, rude of me to ask if I can have a picture with you guys? So they said, yeah. So I said, this will be awesome. And I said, I can also send it to my husband to show, here's the guys that are actually here taking care of us to make sure he's not worried, because I'm sure, you know, because he had no idea.
Mears says she noticed police officers every 10 to 15 feet for the entire 26.2 miles.
I did feel safe. And then a lot of people, including myself, every time you saw one of them, you just automatically said thank you. And I don't even know how many times I even thanked the cops when I was going along the way. And I high-fived so many of them because they were just standing there all serious. And, I remember telling the one, I said, "You look like you need a high five." So we just high-fived.
While Mears never met the person who made this scarf, she can cherish it. Mears tells us about the Old South Church's Marathon Scarf Project.
They did it basically because we were standing there last year and freezing. We weren't allowed to finish, so they felt they needed to do something to warm you up, So the church went along and actually did this. So they apparently received over 7,000 scarves from all 50 states and even 4 countries. So they basically went and did this, and it is the most beautiful scarf I've ever seen.
Mears was very proud of her temporary tattoos, and she says a lot of the supporters along the course enjoyed them as well.
To show that we are all one, and I just definitely think that showed proof that, we overcame and we actually took back our finish line. And that was the key thing this year, just taking it back.
And it's Saturday, and I love to grab a high top, order some apps, and have a few beverages with my buddies at Bottlenecks. They have awesome food and an awesome atmosphere at Bottlenecks.
Hello again, I'm Chris with the Hazleton Animal Shelter, and I have with me here Ellie, who is a young adult, small maybe Papillon or Papillon Chihuahua mix. She's very sweet and affectionate, but she's a little bit shy when you first meet her. Once she warms up to you, she's very friendly, affectionate, and inquisitive. Although she's a smaller dog, she's very active, so I'd recommend daily walks or maybe a larger yard. We're not sure how she is with other animals, but of course, if you do have a dog of your own, we always recommend setting up a meet and greet to see how she'll get along with him or her. Ellie here is recently spayed. She's also up to date on all of her vaccines, including her distemper and rabies. Also, she's tested negative for both heartworm and Lyme. That's it for Ellie. Now let's have a look at our cats. Hello again. Here I am in the female colony with our cat Patty. Patty here is a domestic medium hair who will need a little bit of brushing. She's also a young adult, about a year or a year and a half old. She doesn't mind being held, but she's much more of a lap cat instead. She's equal parts playful and affectionate as well. Patty is a young adult who is already spayed and up to date on all of her shots, including her feline distemper and rabies. She also tested negative for FIV and feline leukemia. Patty seems to get along pretty well with the other cats, and she's very receptive to the public as well. So if anybody at home is interested in either Patty here or our dog Ellie, come on down to 101 North Poplar Street here at the Hazleton Animal Shelter. Till next week, thank you very much.
Well, thank you for joining us for the first episode of FYI Weekend. Join us 7 days a week for the latest information, features, tips, and more. And don't forget to send us those selfies. Take it easy, everyone.